For many years, I was good friend Sherlock Holmes, the famous private detective. During this time, Holmes solved many unusual mysteries. Perhaps one of the most unusual was mysteries of Speckled Band. My story began in April 1883. At that time, Holmes and I were sharing an apartment in Baker Street in London. One morning, I wake up very early. To my surprise, Holmes was standing beside my bed. He was already dressed. "At their fire." "No, Watson," replied Holmes. "The client was just arrived. The young lady is waiting downstairs." He seemed very worried and upset. "I think she has something important to tell me. It could be interesting casing. That's why I wake you up. I'll come at once," I said. "These were interesting Holmes cases." My friend was very clever and detective. I very much admired his work, so I dressed quickly and went downstairs with Holmes. The lady was waiting in the sitting room and was dressed all in black. Over her face she wore a veil. "Good morning, madam," says Holmes. "I'm still home, and this very Watson, my friend and her help." Holmes pursued her doubts to the lady. "You're suffering, madam," he said. "You must be cold. Sit near the fire and we'll get some hot coffee." The lady moved near the fire. "But then she says he isn't a cold, which makes me silver." "What is it, then?" It is fear, Mr. Holmes. It is terror. She spoke. The lady raised her veil. I saw once that she is very frightened. Her eyes were like his eyes terrified animal. His young woman, about 30 years old, but her hair was already turning a grey with worry. Holmes looked at the lady carefully. Then he leaned forward, touched her arm. "Don't be afraid," says Clyde. "I'm sure I can help you. But first, please tell us your story." "Mr. Holmes," says our visitor, "I know I'm in terrible danger. Please tell me what to do." "I'm listening carefully," says Holmes. "My name," she says, "is Helen Stoner. My father was officer in India's army, but he died when I was a baby. After his death, my mother, my sister Julia, and myself continued to live in India. My sister Julia and I were twins. When Julia and I was only 2 years old, my father married again. She married a man called Dr. Roytold. So Dr. Royal became our stepfather. Tell me about Dr. Royal," says Holmes. "In the past, Dr. Royal's family were very rich," says Miss Stoner. "But as the years went by, they lost all their money. Now Dr. Royal has only a large old house and a small piece of land. That's how it's called, Stolen Morden. I live in Stolen Morden with Dr. Royal now. When my stepfather was young, he studied at medicine. After becoming a doctor, he went to India. That's where he met my mother and later married her. My mother was a rich woman. When Mr. Stoner, she has a private income. Every year, she received a sum about £1,000 from her bank. When she married Dr. an agreement was made about this money." "What was this agreement?" asked Holmes. "If my mother died," replied Miss Stoner, "Mr. Roylott would inherit her income. After her death, he would receive £1,000 every year. When my sister and I married, some of the £1,000 would go to instead. We would receive part of the money." "I see," says Holmes. "After some years, we returned to England from India," continued Miss Turner. But soon after we got back, my mother was killed in an accident. At first, all our neighbors at Stormarden were friendly with my stepfather. They were very happy as someone. But my stepfather didn't want my friend with her anymore. Whenever one art, he quarrels with somebody. He's very bad-tempered, gets angry quickly. Soon all neighbors were afraid of him. Didn't have any friend at all? Asked Holmes. His only friend was seamstress, said Mr. Stoner. These would move around the country in band. Dr. Roll allowed the reason to camp on his land. Dr. Roll's also very far India animals. And two of these, a chitty and a boom, were sent from him from. Everyone is terrified of the dangerous animals. So Julia and I became more and more unhappy when no servant wanted to live in the stables, so we had to do all the work when Julia died. So sister is dead then? Asked as one became very interested. Yes, says Mr. Stoner. She was better married, but 2 weeks before her wedding days, Julia died. Holmes leaned forward excited. Tell me exactly what happened, he said. On the night of Julia's death, says Mr. Stoner, my stepfather went into his room early. Julia and I were sitting together in my bedroom. We talked until about 11 o'clock. Suddenly I went to bed. All the room at Stormarden was the same part of the house. They were next to each other at the ground floor. The door of each room opened in the same corridor. The window took out the arm, but there was no door or window from the bedroom to the next. I understand, says Holmes. As well as was leaving my room that evening, she asked a strange question. Tell me, Helen, she said, have you ever heard anyone whistle in the middle of the night? No, I said in surprise. Why? Because during the past few nights, replied Julia, I have heard a strange whistle. It's very low and clear. I don't know where it's come from. Remember, I said some gypsies I camping near the house, but it was one of them whistling at night. You're probably right, Julia replied. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Good night. She smiled at me and closed my door. Did you angels always lock the door at night? Asked Holmes. Yes, replied Mr. Stoner. We are afraid of cheetah and a boom, that dangerous animal. We didn't feel safe unless our door and window was locked. Of course, said Holmes. Please go on. Last night there was a terrible storm, continued Mr. Stoner. The wind was howling and the rain was beating on the window. I couldn't sleep. Suddenly, I heard a dreadful scream. I knew it was Julia. I jumped out of the bed and ran into the corridor. As I opened the door, I thought I heard a noise. It was a low, clear whistle. Then I heard another sound. The second sound was like metal clanging against metal. I saw that my sister's door was opened. I started to enter with his horror. Suddenly, Julia appeared. She was standing in the doorway. Her face was white and terror. Her eye was standing widely. She was swayed from side to side like a drunk person. Then she fell on the floor. Her body moved like someone in terrible pain. Suddenly, she cried the words, "Oh my God, Helen!" It was a band, the Speckled Band. Then she fainted. At that moment, my stepfather came out of his room. He ran down the corridor to help Julia, but there was nothing he could do. My stepfather went to the village to bring out the doctor, but before he returned, poor Julia was dead. How was your sister dressed? Asked Holmes. She was wearing a home knife. In one hand, he was holding a box of matches, and in the other hand, a burned match. So she has a little majesty around her, says Holmes. That could be important. What would cause death if discovered? No, replies Mr. Stoner. Nobody could find out who she died. Her body was not marked in any way. But door window to Nia's room was locked. A chimney was closed in the fireplace for the room. Nobody could get in or out of her room, so they must have been alone in her bedroom. What about her strange words? The Speckled Band, asked Thomas. What do you think she meant? I don't know, says Mr. Stoner, but perhaps she meant a band of people. Gypsy was painting near the house. On their heads, these headsprits have designed to sport or speckles, so perhaps Sonia tried to decry the band's upgrades. Holmes looked doubtful. Please go on, he said. Sonia died 2 years ago, said Mr. Stone. Since her death, I've been very lonely. But recently, a dear friend of mine asked me to marry him. We're getting married very soon. But 2 days ago, some builder arrived and stole the garden. The builder started to knock at holes through my bedroll, so I had to move into their room. I've been sleeping in her bed. Mr. Stearns stopped a few moments, and she said, Mr. Holmes, last night I heard a terrible sound. What is that? I asked. It was a whistle, Dr. Watson. A low, clear whistle. The same sound Sonia had heard from several nights before she died. Holmes and I looked at each other in astonishment. What did you do? Asked Holmes. I jumped out of the bed and looked around me, replied Miss Turner. But it was dark and I couldn't see anything. At daylight, I went to the station, caught a train to London. I knew I had to see you, Mr. Holmes. You are the only man who can help me. But I can only help you if you tell me everything, said Holmes. If you not told me everything, Mr. Stoner. What do you mean? Asked Mr. Stoner in surprise. Holmes did not answer. He took hold of Mr. Stoner's arm and pushed back her sleeve. I saw 5 red marks on her arm. There was mark of 4 fingers and the thumb. Somebody has held Mr. arms tightly. Your stepfather has hurt you badly, said Holmes. Mr. Stoner's face became red. Mr. Stoner is a very strong man, she said. He doesn't know how strong he is. Holmes started into the fire without speaking. I knew he was thinking hard. I need someone more information, he said at last, but you'll miss more quickly. I want to go to Stockmorton today and examine the bedroom there. Mr. Stafford must not know about my visit. Dr. Wallace has important business in London today, said Mr. Turner. He'll be away from home all day. Excellent, cried Holmes. Will you come with me, Watson? Of course, I replied. Then Mr. Stoner will rise early this afternoon. I must go now, said Mr. Stoner. But I feel much happier now I've told you about my troubles. Goodbye. He pulled her and left the room. He slammed back. Very strange. I don't understand it, I said. Helen Stoner's sister was alone with her bedroom. Nobody could get in or out, so how did she die? It was about the whistling at night, says Holmes, and dries words about Speckled Band. I don't know, I said. Resist. Suddenly a door about a room was thrown open and a man appeared. It was so large, his body almost filled the doorway. His face was red and his eyes were cruel. Then he looked at me. "Which of you is Holmes?" he asked rudely. "That's my name," answered my friend quietly. "Well, I'm Jim Rinsing of Stockmartin," said the man. "I know my stepdaughter been here. I follow her. What has she been saying to you?" Holmes was not afraid, but a large man. He was not going to tell the doctor anything about Helen's Stoner visit, so he said politely, "The weather is a little colder now, isn't it?" "Answer the question," shouted Dr. Roylott angrily. "What has my stepdaughter been saying to you? I heard about you, Holmes. You're a busybody. You interfere with people's lives. They keep out of my life. I'm a dangerous man. Lock. A broken glass. It's very heavy." Dr. Vollen stepped forward, picked it up. He bent the broken with his huge hands. Then he threw it back into the fireplace. "I'm warning you, Holmes. Keep out of my life," she said again. Then he left the room. One began to laugh. "Well," he said, "perhaps I'm not as large as Dr. Lord, but I'm just as strong." I suppose Holmes picked up the poker and pulled it trending. "Now," says Holmes, "let's have some breakfast, Watson. Then I have some business to do. I need more information." It was nearly 1 o'clock before Holmes returned. He looked excited. "I've seen Mr. Roy's lawyer," he said. "I've seen her well. This was one to happen in money after her death. Dr. Roy had all his wife's income, but usually inherited certain merit. They would receive a large part of income instead. Said Holmes. "But now, Watson, we must hurry. Please, bring your gun with you." He called a train to left, the nearest town to Stockmartin. Then we drove along country lanes to Dr. Lone's house. It was a beautiful spring day. Soon we saw a large house through the trees. "That's Stockmartin," says our driver, pointed the house. "The quickest way to get there is through the fields. See where the lady..." I saw a lady walking towards us. It was Helen Stoner. We paid the driver, and he set up the bike to the leather. Miss Stoner hurried forward to me. "We have plenty of time," she said. "The girl won't return from London until this evening. We have already met your stepfather," says. He told Miss Stoner about Dr. Lowe's visit. Face went white. "So he followed me, she said. "I'll never be safe from him." "Come," said Holmes, "let's examine the bedroom." We walked across the fields to the house. We saw the work being come. This was Mr. Stoner's bedroom. "This is strange," said Holmes. "I can see why this work is necessary." "No," says Mr. Stoner. "I'm sure the work is not necessary. It's an excuse to get me removed from my room." "Well," says Holmes, "I want to examine the room you're sleeping in now, your sister Julia's room." The room was small, with a low ceiling and a wide fireplace, with some furniture in the room, beds, a table, and a two chairs. Everything carefully. Suddenly he pointed to a long rope which hung down by the bed. At the end of the room touched his pillow. The rope looked like a bell rope for calling a servant. If the person in bed wanted something, they could pull the rope. The rope could be attached to the bell in another part of the house. The bell would ring and the servant would come. That bell rope looked very new, Holmes remarked. Yes, replied Mr. Turner. It was put in 2 years ago. Holmes pulled the bell rope. We waited, but nothing happened. We could not hear a bell ringing anywhere in the house. Look, said Holmes suddenly. This isn't real bell rope. It doesn't go anywhere. Let's touch a book on the ceiling. We all stared up at the ceiling. Holmes was right. Then I noticed something else. Near the top of the bell rope there was a tiny opening in the wall. It looked like a small ventilator. Holmes saw the ventilator too. A trace, he said. Came into the room from outside through a ventilator, but the ventilator connected to the room inside. I wonder why. I don't know, says Mr. Stoner. But the bell rope and the ventilator was put in the same time. That's very interesting, says Holmes. A bell rope that rings bell and which doesn't ventilate. They are both false. And now, Miss Stoner, I'd like to examine your stepfather's room. We need into Doctor's room next door. There were a few pieces of furniture and some books in the middle of Lawrence's. The safe was locked. Holmes knocked the door and the safe. What's in here? He asked. I have read the business paper, replied Mr. Stoner. Isn't it cut inside? A cut, said Mr. Turner in surprise. No, what a strange idea. Well, look, Mr. Holmes. Small saucer and milk and chopped up some stiff. We don't have a cut, says Mr. Stoner. But there is a cheetah. A cheetah is break cut. Of course, said Mr. But here's something else. I saw a stick light at the top of the bed. A thin rope was attached with this stick. One of these ropes was tied into a noose. I looked at the noose. I wondered what it was for. Well, says Holmes, I think I've seen enough. We walked out in the garden. Holmes looked very serious. Mr. Stoner, he said at last, Dr. Watson and I must wait in your room tonight. Mr. Stoner and I looked at each other in Yes, said Holmes. Your life is a great danger. Listen my plans, Mr. Stoner, says Holmes. Listen carefully. When Dr. Wallace returns into the newsroom, but don't go to bed. But until he hears Dr. Wallace to bed. But then lock the window. Then go on to your own room. You must stay there all night. Dr. Watson and I will be watching the house. Then the window will be signal for us. When you see the lamp, will come. But where will we be? Asked Mr. Stoner. Holmes pointed to the building through the trees. Is that the village inn? He asked. Yes, he said Stoner. Then Dr. Watson and I will be waiting at the village inn, said Holmes. Bedroom window there. Goodbye, Mr. Stoner, and don't be afraid. Entered the inn. We paid for a room on the first floor. From our room we can see Stolen Mountain. It was getting dark. A horse and carriage came along the road. I saw Rose sitting in the cage. That cage went through the big iron gates in Stolen Mountain. Then it rode off, up to the house. Says Holmes. It may be great danger tonight. Why do you think we may be in great danger? I asked. What do you see in the room? You remember the bell rope and the... Yes, I said. But I don't understand why they are important. Both the bell rope and the village was put in the room 2 years ago, says Holmes. But they are false. They don't work. And something else happened 2 years ago. Julia Stoner died. Yes, I said, but I still don't see. Did you notice anything unusual about Batch Watson? I asked. No. It was fixed to the floor. It cannot be moved. It must always stay the same position, near to the bell rope and under the envelope. Holmes cried. I cried. I begin to understand. The person in the bed cannot escape some terrible danger. Dr. Raleigh, very clever man, said Holmes, whether in time prevent horrible crime. About 11 o'clock, we saw at night. It was the lamp shining from the bedroom window. Holmes jumped out excitedly. That's our signal, Watson, he said. Come on. When the low, yellow lights were still standing from the bedroom window, we went into the garden through Martin and walked toward the houses. Suddenly, a dark shape ran in front of us. It was like a child, very long arm. It was not a child. I felt very afraid. What was that, Holmes? I asked. Holmes laughed quietly. It was one of the daughter animals, says. That was a baboon. We reached the house and climbed the window into the junior bedroom. Holmes closed the window, then whispered at my ear. We must put out the light, Watson. Dr. Waller may see the light through the ventilator. On the table, Holmes has brought a long, thin stick with him. He put this stick on the bed. He put the broken mess beside the stick. We waited. I shall never forget that terrible night. We was in complete darkness, and we knew we must make a start. We heard the bell and the clock. It struck midnight. 10 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, still we waited. Waitress. I saw a light shining through the ventilator. Somebody in Doctor's room has a little lamp. I saw her move about quietly, then everything was silent again. She noise, very soft, hissing noise. The nearest one the room. Was lit at the match. Immediately, I heard a low, clear whistle. Holmes began to hitting the bell rope with his stick, but the less of the match, I saw his fail. Do you see it, Mr. Watson? He started. I saw nothing. Holmes stopped hitting the bell rope and gazed up the ventilator. A plain and corridor. I feel cold and sick with fear. What once was cried, I whispered. It means that everything is over, said Holmes. Bring your gun. Let's go into Doctor's room. Holmes lit the lamp, and a flame doused the room, Doctor's room. We knocked twice on the door, but there was no reply. We put the door open and entered the room. A terrible sight met our eyes. We were sitting beside his bed. The door was open. I saw a stick with a nose nails across the door. Doctor was dead. His eyes were standing up in terror. There was something strange around his head. It was bright yellow, with broad speckles. The band whispered, Holmes. The Speckled Band. I stepped forward. Immediately, strange bands began to move. It was a snake. I cried in honor. Quickly, Holmes grabbed a stick and ran. He caught the snakes in the noose. Then he threw the snakes into the iron safe and closed the door. The metal door then shut. The poor girl was very upset by what happened, and searched house and London. She would stay there until the wedding. We also told the police about Dr. Wallen's death, then returned to our apartment in Baker Street. Tell me something, Holmes, I said. How did you know the Speckled Band was a snake? Well, said Holmes, examining Julia Stoner's bedroom. I saw the bell rope in the ventilator. I saw the both folds. Then I noticed the bedroom faced the floor. And I released the light as something was passed through the ventilator, traveled down the bell ladder on the bed. Immediately I thought of snake, but it wasn't the train's animals in Tom India. So keep this safe and fed with milk, and the nice put the snake through the ventilator, and went a step for the room and came down the rope. But it goes in the bed. How did you make the snake come back to him? I asked. But while I signaled to snake, replied Holmes, when the snake girl's whistle returned to be master, the next Stone also hear this whistle. On the night her sister died, I said, Helen's tears had styles mental, cleaning against metal. With that was stiff doors cleansing shut, said Holmes. So, when you heard the sizzling noise in the room last night, I said, you knew that was a snake. So I hid my stick and went back through the ventilator, but it closed my stick also Miss angry. That's why I beat Dr. Willard. Dr. Willard went to his stepdaughter money, I said, and tried to kill her sister Helen too, but his plan was went wrong. The snake finally killed his master. And I don't feel very sorry for him.